10 questions you should ask your piercer before choosing them to pierce you. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 42. So stick around. For those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I'm the owner and operator of the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you as someone who has been in the industry for well over 25 years and interacted with a lot of people over the years and have dealt with a lot of different piercers. So the purpose of this video is to give you kind of an overview or a few questions that you can ask pretty much any piercer and kind of gauge what their expertise is, what their knowledge is, and whether or not you really want to put your piercing in their hands. Nothing beats visiting shops. Nothing beats going out and researching your piercer beforehand. Understand, if you found somebody that you love and you're sticking with them, I understand that, but a lot of times people go through situations where either their piercer moves out of the area, retires, quits, maybe you've moved to a new area, maybe you're brand new to piercing and you have no idea what you should ask or talk about. This is a video for you. So I'm going to go through 10 points. Number 1, where did they apprentice at? It's very important that they went through some form of apprenticeship and learned under somebody else. Who did they learn from? What is the reputation of that person that they've learned from? A lot of us, like me, who's been in it for so long, that's kind of been lost to history. The person I apprenticed under is been out of the industry for well over 2 decades, but it kind of gives you an idea that they made that commitment and they stuck it through. Number 2, how long have they been piercing? How experienced are they? Is this something they just picked up? Did they just finish their apprenticeship? All those things are important because you're putting your health and your well-being in their hands. With piercings, it's very important that they have the experience and expertise to read your anatomy and put the piercing where it's going to work correctly, but also to help you through the aftercare program, and if an issue comes up, to be there and have the answers. And those things are only learned through experience. They're not learned or taught. You have to do it firsthand. Number 3, where have you pierced at? This is an interesting kind of question because some people, if they've moved around a lot, it can mean one of 2 things. If they might have been going from shop, studio to studio to learn new things and experience piercing with particular artists or maybe somebody they respected and they wanted to have that experience. It could also mean that they don't have it and they keep getting fired from job to job to job. It's not a bad idea if you're dealing with somebody that's new to the area or someone you've never heard of to actually call up the old studio that they used to work at and go, hey, this guy, blah, 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 or this gal, blah, 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 they're piercing in my area now. What can you tell me about them? Now, always take that with a grain of salt because occasionally people leave under bad circumstances, just like any other job that had nothing to do with their abilities or anything else. It just had to do with personality conflicts or job conflicts or etc. So do take it with a grain of salt, but it is something that you can do to kind of get a background of what this person is like. Number 4, how long have they been piercing at this particular location? This is a big one. You really want to find a piercer that's going to be around if there's an issue coming up. If they're one of these people that's been there 2 months and they might be there within that whole 6 months it takes to heal that navel piercing, but they may not. So it's very important to know how long they've been there, how committed they are to this particular thing, and if they're stable and established. Number 5, do they give a verbal consultation for every piercing? This is a big one for me. If you come into my studio and ask for a particular piercing, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go through a consultation immediately. I'm going to mention average healing times, what it's going to take to heal it, what I'm going to suggest, cross-contamination prevention, any risks that are involved with the piercing, and of course the price. If it's a very anatomy-specific piercing, then I'm going to take a look at your anatomy and see if that piercing is actually going to work for you. It's important that you have that consultation and that that your piercer is open and willing to discuss risks that are involved with the piercing. So it's always a good idea to do a little bit of research beforehand. But if you go into somebody and you've done all this research on this particular piercing or that one, and there's a lot of conflicting viewpoints, but there's a lot of risks involved with it, if they don't bring it up or at least mention it, it's probably not going to be somebody that's very reputable to begin with. They're more interested in the sell than getting that sale than they are anything else. Number 6, another big one with me, that they actually ask if they sit down and go through the aftercare instructions verbally. It's important that you have that time after the piercing where the piercer sits down and goes through how to take care of it properly, goes over some cross-contamination prevention, goes through how to care for it, how to do soaks and so forth, talks a little bit about jewelry changing and how long that's going to take, and talks a little bit about what you should do if you think you have an issue. Me, personally, it's a huge time saver. It may seem like in the short term that doing that with everybody that comes in takes up a lot of my free time. The reality is that I learned early on that the more educated my clients are about how to take care of the piercing, and the more readily they are as I'm going through it to be able to answer or ask questions, the less likely I saw problems in the long run. So it's much easier to kind of be preventive than it is to not be preventative. If they're a piercer and they've been doing this for a profession for any length of time, they should have already realized this one on their own. Can I see the piercing area? Any piercer worth their weight of salt is going to allow you to go back and take a look around. Generally, we're pretty darn proud of our piercing station. They reflect our personality, often with the decorations on the wall. We're proud of how clean and well maintained we keep the area, and we're very specific about how it's set up and everything else. When looking at a piercing area, you should look at where the sterile stuff seems to be and where the contaminated stuff seems to be. They should be very separate, usually starting from top to bottom with the sharps container off on a separate wall. There shouldn't be a bunch of other activities going on in the area, including tattooing. It should be a separate area designated just for piercing. And ask questions. What is that? What is that thing over there? What's in there? What is that? What do you do with that? Why is that there? And they'll be happy to answer it. At least I would be, because I like it. I like telling people about what I do for a living. Why else would I be on the internet? YouTube's. Number 8, ask them specifically, how do you decontaminate, clean, and sterilize equipment that you reuse? This is an important thing because you've got to keep in mind that with the body piercing industry, a lot of the equipment we use, any tools, etc., is reused on a regular basis. Disposable stuff is slowly starting to leak into the industry, but a lot of it is just not reliable enough to use all the time. So most of us reuse things like forceps, hemostats, tapers, needle receiving tubes, and etc. So it's important that they have a clear understanding of how to decontaminate those and clean them. I did a full video series, I think 3 videos, on how I disinfect and go through the whole process. Usually with decontamination, cleaning, and sterilization, it's usually done by decontaminating and soaking in a hard surface cleaner at least for roughly about 12 hours. Then cleaning. I also use an ultrasound tank to clean it even deeper. Then they're rebagged and sterilized in a hospital-grade sterilizer that has been tested on a regular basis. This should be clear and easy knowledge and something they're more than happy to share with you. If they do not have that in place, they may have some issues, and I would not suggest getting pierced there, because if they don't properly understand how to sanitize, disinfect, decontaminate, and sterilize the equipment that they're using every day, the chances of cross-contamination from one client to another greatly increases. Number 9, do they use implant grade or biocompatible materials when it comes to jewelry? Ask them a little bit about any type of certification that they get, what do they look at when they're buying jewelry. They should know a little bit about ASTM and some of the other third-party certification companies that do this, or laboratories, I should say. And they should have clear and understanding of the difference between motorcycle spokes and implant-grade materials. Number 10, what is their pricing structure? I'm not a big fan of bait and switch, and generally that happens a lot. When you call up on the phone, you ask them how much a piercing is going to cost, and then you get there, and yeah, it costs that much to do the piercing, but the jewelry starts at. Ask them if the jewelry is included in the price and what type of jewelry it is. Well, that's it. I hope I gave you some insight, or maybe kind of a starter toolkit, so to speak, of knowledge to go out and ask the right questions and find that piercer that is right for you. If you enjoyed this or found it educational or helpful, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you did. If you'd like to see more videos that focus on education about body piercing and tattooing, hit the subscription button and click the notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post a new video. Other than that, I hope all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Go out there and do something.